الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونشكره ونستعين به ونسترشده ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وقائدنا ومرشدنا وحجتنا وشفيعنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله وطاعته، وأحثكم على التمسك بهدي قرآنه وسنة نبيه، فقد قال الله جل من قائل: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام، إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. صدق الله العظيم. My dear children, sisters, brothers, I have to start with a warning that you may find that I started my khutbah at point A and finished all the way at another point. But I want to comfort us that it's not meant to be, as they say in Arabic, min kulli wadin asa, that we are picking a stick from a different valley. No. But the nature of what I want to discuss is interrelated, but it moves in such a way from one point of concern to another, hoping that in the second khutbah we can come up with some recommendations for us. Again, thank God. Alhamdulillah, it is a PD day, and our young people are here to help us form a crisp picture of how we would like to see our future, inshallah. Last Friday, early in the morning, I was waiting at the lounge of our airport, and I had a little bit of time, so I did something that I usually don't have time to do. And that is to scroll down, some of the apps on my phone, and I came across a discussion, listen to this, a discussion about the validity, the halalability, the lawfulness of recognizing Remembrance Day as Canadian Muslims. But the issue is not here. The issue, which will be my number one concern, is the way people, usually they have, following the statement by someone, people who comment, who agree, disagree. The way I saw people, Muslims, non-Muslims, disagreeing with each other about the issue of whether it is proper to celebrate Remembrance Day as Canadian Muslims or not, was terrible. It was so heartbreaking to see how people disagreed with each other, using words that are anything but Islamic. And then, I went from this area of disagreement to another now big, hot issue, and that is concerning some of the scandals that are floating in the lives of, these are claims, and I'm not saying that they are definitely reflections of reality or the truth, but there are claims, and the way people commented on these very hot topics leaves a lot for us to wish as Muslims. And I believe, as a comment on this loss of ability to disagree properly as Muslims, I believe that this is a virus. They say that beware of this file, do not open this file, open it at your own risk because of possible viruses that may infect your phone or your, whatever system you have. There are viruses now that are infecting the way we think. The culture of our dealing with such issues is becoming infected with the online virus. This is how people, now imagine you are talking to someone, you don't know who he is or she is, You cannot see that person, so the tendency is that you let go of a human quality that most of us have, and that is to venge for something, knowing very well no one can physically get back at us. And that is a reflection of the shaitan that may affecting us. This is the shaitan that we are under the influence of. This is terrible. This is really bad. We don't know how to disagree anymore. That's the first point. Now, let us talk about the issue of Remembrance Day. See, yesterday I was participating in the awards ceremony for members of the London Police Force, and the other chaplains were standing. I was standing with them, and they were talking about the services they had at their churches about Remembrance Day. And obviously I am not promoting, I'm aware that, again, this is the second concern, that I may say something now and the people who disagree with my standpoint may not be able to know how to express their differences. As when I was speaking about the issue of collecting funds for Gaza in the presence of Muhammad Assaf, many people disagreed and they did not know how to express their disagreement. But I'm not about to shy away from talking about what really touches the future of our children. If there are people who are scared of their own reputation, I am not. I am going to talk about things as they are. Our children are facing issues at school with their children, and we, the parents, and some of the guides of this community, some of the leadership of not only this community, but other communities as well, are staying away from the hot topics because it may affect our image, our reputation. And now the future of our children is immaterial. We really don't care about it. This is not acceptable. We've got to face things as they are. Our children, most of our children, are not educated at Islamic schools, and even those who go to Islamic schools, they are, some of them, getting the feeling of isolation, and when they go outside to the world, they are unable to deal with issues like celebrating Canadian days. Our children were born and raised in Canada. And we've got to understand that in Canada, there is Canada Day, there is civic holiday, there is Labor Day, there is Thanksgiving celebration, there is Remembrance Day. Yes, there are other days that clearly we will be able to reason, not force upon. I mean, let's consider St. Patrick's Day. Let's consider St. Valentine's Day. Some parents believe that I'm going to tell my children it is haram and to stop talking about it, and that's the end of the story. This is wrong. This is wrong unless you really establish the ability of parenting in Canada, in the place where your children will continue the race after we are long gone. Then you are doing your children a big disservice. You've got to be able to reason with them. Thanksgiving Day. You know how many perspectives Islam can shed on these beautiful occasions that the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came to teach us. How Rasulullah ﷺ took many aspects from Jahiliyyah, from the days pre-Islamic, and shaped them into things beautiful so that people will continue to celebrate, recognize, live, but from an Islamic perspective. To give you an example, many among us who really need to have a remembrance of the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If for anything, when you talk about remembrance, you can actually use that occasion to try to remember the seerah that very few of us need, or very few of us know even 10% about. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us about a pact, a treaty that was done before Islam. He said, حضرت مع عمومتي حلف الفضول في دار عبد الله بن جدعان ووالله ما أنا لأعطي هذا الحلف بحمر النعم ولو أني أعطيت هذا الحلف في الإسلام لدخلت فيه. He was talking about this pact that was done before Islam. And he said, I attended with my uncles, the meeting that established this treaty. And by Allah, I will not accept the best kind of camels in those days, in exchange to give up, to distance myself from this treaty. I will not do that. And if I would be offered to enter into this pact in Islam, during Islam, I would have done that willingly, with happiness. Which means that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even look at our ibadat, look at our siyam, كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم, as our hajj, as the tawaf, as the sa'i, as many of the things that we do in Islam. Islam came to shape them, to eliminate the things that were added. For example, in Hajj was known from the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And with time, the non-believers introduced many idolatrous practices. Islam came and said, no, there's danger if we keep Hajj now and let us... No. Islam came and eliminated those things and kept the proper practices. And when you think of the word remembrance, now could you have considered how much we would have benefited our children, the community around us? It was a chance that will not come for another 100 years. Do you know what I'm talking about? For another 100 years, we will not be able to have another chance. Because this Remembrance Day, we could have gone out to the community and said to them, we want you to remember something that many are trying to forget or to shove under the carpet, and that is the Balfour Declaration, where Palestine was given just by the foreign minister of the United Kingdom to the Jews as a Jewish state. Now 100 years passed, November 1917 to November 2017, 100 years. This is remembrance. Now people say that this is remembrance of the fighting of the First World War and the soldiers that actually no. It is not the war, the First World War, that is remembered. It is the cessation of hostilities, the end of the First World War, the opening of a new chapter of peace that was closed in the Second World War. And we are witnessing that there are attempts to reopen that book and close the chapter of peace and have another world, which could have started already, the Third World War, but in a different way. It doesn't have to be with classical weapons, because wars today are fought through the internet more effectively than they are fought on the fields that we are used to read about. Now the Balfour Declaration. We could remember what happened in Palestine. We could remember many things that happened to us. And let us put an Islamic perspective on things instead of withdrawing ourselves and say no. And there was actually part of the chatting or comments after that, statement on Remembrance Day. Is it haram to don on the poppy? Is it haram to put up? How could we talk about that when the entire Muslim world is now engaged in an exercise that could witness the elimination of many Muslims? Now, just tell me, the people who argue that no, many Muslims were killed and Remembrance Day cannot be recognized because, now what would you tell me about the war in Yemen? What would you tell me about the fighting between two Muslim nations? What would you say about the potential fighting in Lebanon now? What would you say about the fighting in many other countries? Engaged Muslim brothers and sisters fighting with each other. Let us stop these, I don't know what to qualify them with as a description. Let us just put an Islamic perspective on things and teach our children that Thanksgiving, those who say, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every single day, we don't need to have one day to celebrate Thanksgiving. Now, life is such that we are driving in the fast lane. Sometimes when we witness something beautiful, the government established an observation site where you get off your car and you stand and you enjoy the beautiful scene. And these days are like that. Days come, and let us stop putting in the minds of our children that it is haram to celebrate Mother's Day or Father's Day or Canada's Day. This is unacceptable, and I take full responsibility for every word I am saying. Let us worry more about how to teach our children the mu'amalat, how to really act with each other with honesty, how to embrace each other, how to accept differences, how to really live life before death will take us over. We are engaging in arguments that are making our children sick and tired of us, while Islamophobia is really fighting us right and left. I will tell you one thing, and I will sit for the second khutbah, and then I will elaborate on the thing I will tell you right now. This is the result of research. It's not the result of emotional outbursts. Listen to this. The Berkeley Institute for Racism Studies. Let me repeat so that you will remember and you will Google the information, so that you will not say I am just basically bringing just a name and some statements. Let me repeat. The Berkeley Institute for Racism Studies finally said Islamophobia is the result of 5 elements, where people believe 5 things about Islam. In the second khutbah, inshallah, very quickly, because time does not allow us to elaborate in detail. 5 things about Islam people believe in that together form Islamophobia. And if we want to tackle Islamophobia and reach solutions, let's consider each one of those 5. Number 1, people believe that Islam is monolithic and is not open for adaptation for new situations. If there are new realities facing Islam and Muslims, Islam is not equipped to deal with changes. It's fixed. It's engraved in stone. That's number one. Number two, Islam is inferior to other religions, specifically major religious traditions, and has absolutely no way of sharing values of those religions. So Islam is different. It shares nothing with Christianity, Judaism, major religious traditions. Islam has absolutely nothing to share with them. Number three, Islam is based on a violent political ideology. Number four, Islam is violence, and as such subscribes easily to terrorism. And number five, Islam is inferior to the West. 5 things that people believe in. This is research from the Berkeley Institute for Racism Studies. This is what people believe. And the National Council of Canadian Muslims, and that's concerning your children, my children, our children. Please let us listen to those who spend time researching. There was a 17-page document that was recently in September, following September 11th anniversary, that was released by the NCCM, that said our children are suffering the loss or confusion about their Islamic identity in Canada, and they are forced to take a defensive stand, and some of them have withdrawn into psychological closets, into other closets, into drugs, into violence, into many things that we may regret in the future if we do not tackle this problem head on by denying the right to observe Remembrance Day or Thanksgiving Day and say this is haram and this is haram, without sitting and establishing a fiqh, jurisprudence for Canadian Muslims, for Muslims who are living, I could go on and on and on. In 2030, I'm not talking about 2030 across the ocean, no. I'm talking about the 2030. Life for our children will not be recognizable if we do not prepare them now for what is coming their way. Even in 5 years, we may regret it, and we may be crying at a time when crying will lead us nowhere. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فيا فوز المستغفرين. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will accept our dua. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Before I go to the 5 things that I mentioned, let us recognize that our deen without remembrance of things past will dissipate, will disappear from the minds of our children. فذكر إنما أنت مذكر. Remind them, you came with a mission of remembrance, so that dhikr in different formats. This is our deen. إن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين. Remembrance will bring beneficial aspects to the lives of the believers. We need to keep reminding ourselves and teach our children and teach them how to remember important things from the life of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Our deen has two sources, two major sources. The others are secondary. It's the Quran and the life of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. How many among us know I don't want to say the details, but know the general principles of the Battle of Uhud? How many among us know how Prophet Muhammad ﷺ dealt with the Sahabis, with the companions who really were not at the level of practice of Umar ibn al-Khattab or Abu Bakr as-Siddiq? How did he deal with those who broke the law? How did he deal with marital issues? How did the companions deal with the enemies that they faced outside the borders of Medina? How did they deal with people who did not agree with them? How did Rasulullah ﷺ deal with people like Suhail bin Amr, who said to him, if we knew that you were the messenger of God, we would not have fought you. I do not recognize you as Muhammad, the messenger of God. So Rasulullah ﷺ said to Ali bin Abi Talib, Ya Ali, just erase that, the messenger of God, and say Muhammad, the son of Abdullah. There was no anger. He did not say that since Suhail is alone with us, just go and kill him. He did not say that. There are akhlaq that we lost. Even Abu Jahl, when he slapped Asma on the face, and then he ran, he went back and knocked on the door again, and Asma opened the door and he said, please don't tell anybody I did this to you, because I'm afraid that the people will say about me that I slapped a young lady. And that is Abu Jahl. Now even those kind of moral values that we really need to dig out through remembrance. I am not saying, and neither anyone else, that Remembrance Day is a celebration with one color brush. No. In the United Kingdom they may celebrate it one way. In Canada they celebrate it another. Let us celebrate it with a legacy. Muslims need to reach out to the world and say, this is how we do things, and let us be part of this society so that our children will have an easier time than us in living their Islam. Now quickly, number one, Muslims or Islam is monolithic and is unable to adapt to new realities. People are seeing that we isolate our children. When the national anthem is played, we ask them to close their ears because music is haram. We are unable to adapt to the new realities of joining the police force, for example. We are unable, so many things. Let us show that Islam is the way of life that adapts to everything. Islam, as they say, is inferior to everything in the West. Inferior to the way, now they forgot how Islam taught Europe all the sciences that now they developed and they are teaching back to the world. Let us go back and show them what we can do. Let us show them that Islam is not violence, that Islam is not terrorism. It's not terrorism. Let us show them, and you know, speeches do not say it. We've got to really live Islam. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وخطايانا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم علمنا من ديننا ما جهلنا وذكرنا منه ما نسينا وكن معنا ولا تكن علينا. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.